Tonight on Denver 7 News at 10, holding nothing back.
We want to use every vaccine as soon as we get it. So that's what this is about.
Colorado makes the call to clear the shelves and get first shots into arms sooner. What it all means for vulnerable Coloradans.
Hundreds of thousands already got their shots, but white Coloradans are getting a disproportionate share.
The history goes back a long way. And
Colorado now trying to build trust in Black and Hispanic neighborhoods badly hurt by the pandemic.
This vaccine is going to save lives, and we need to make sure that the vaccine is available to people who want it and who need it.
The U.S. COVID vaccine development is called Operation Warp Speed. Researchers craft safe, effective treatments in record time, beating many predictions. But the process of getting those life-saving doses to the people who need them most hit some bumps in the road.
And that is why Colorado is now changing strategy. Instead of holding back tens of thousands of doses to give as a second vaccine, hospitals are being ordered to clear the shelves, and that means about 40,000 more Coloradans will be able to get their first shot and some protection from the virus in the coming days.
Well, good evening. Welcome to Denver 7 News at 10. I'm Shannon Ogden.
And I'm Ann Trujillo. We thank you for joining us tonight. Now, one big benefit to freeing up those doses, more Coloradans aged 70 and older, among our most vulnerable, can get vaccinated sooner.
But our state is also trying to grapple with a major flaw in the rollout. A disproportionate number of shots are going to white Coloradans. Right now, their vaccination rates are 2 to 3 times higher than the rates of people of color in our state who have been disproportionately hurt by COVID.
So how can Colorado close the gap and make sure everyone has a fair chance to get vaccinated? Our CB Cotton is taking a look at the efforts happening right now to connect with people of color in Colorado and why state leaders say building trust matters.
Eddie Guajardo leads off our team coverage tonight, breaking down how the new vaccine rules work and why Governor Polis says he's convinced this change is the right choice for Colorado.
Governor Jared Polis is eager to get shots out to Coloradans in Phase 1A and 1B. On Monday, he sent a letter out to providers urging them to get COVID-19 vaccines off the shelves and into arms.
This has always been a race against the clock to save lives, to end the pandemic, to return to normalcy.
More than 562,000 people are 70 and older in Colorado and represent 78% of COVID-19 deaths in the state. To speed up the process,
We are moving to, in our state, real-time inventory management.
a move that makes nearly 40,000 extra shots available.
We're going to advance some of those doses that had been held back as second doses to use as first doses, and then backfill them later with additional doses that we receive.
So instead of just 84,000 Coloradans getting their vaccine this week, more than 123,000 will now get their first shot, and nearly 111,000 Coloradans will receive their second dose as planned.
That's a big deal because even that first shot affords some degree of protection.
Providers already have the vaccines. In a statement, Kaiser Permanente says it's expecting more doses in the coming days and adds that it's committed to getting the vaccines out as quickly as possible. This week's Centura Health is focused on getting the second dose to healthcare workers in Phase 1A, adding that additional doses will go to those 70 and older. Vaccination rates have increased in Colorado, and in just 11 days, the state has expanded to an additional 177 providers. There are now 473 total vaccine providers. So far, nearly 329,000 shots have gone into arms.
Given the supplies we have, we'll be able to protect 70% or more of people aged 70 and up by the end of February.
The boost in shots is only scheduled for this week and will return to about 84,000 vaccines next week until those doses increase.
We expect within 2 or 3 weeks, we'll be closer to 100,000 a week and then increasing through March to significantly higher numbers.
Now, Centura Health and Kaiser Permanente have both set up websites where you can go online and reserve a spot for your shot. Now, Governor Jared Polis is warning people if someone is calling you, charging you for the vaccine, he says it's a scam. Reporting live, Addie Guajardo, Denver 7.
Good to know. Thank you, Addie. And Colorado is making it clear it will not require government IDs or documentation for anyone who wants to get a coronavirus shot.
Well, the state sent notices to hundreds of healthcare providers yesterday. The aim is to make sure no one gets shut out from getting a shot. State health staff says it will remove barriers for non-citizens, for homeless people, for people with disabilities. Health providers ignoring the state rule could lose access to vaccines.
And Colorado is facing an uncomfortable reality. People of color are being left behind once again when it comes to who is first in line to get a COVID vaccine.
Troubling because state health data shows the pandemic took an outsized toll on Black and Hispanic Coloradans, with more hospitalizations and cases among people of color.
As Denver7 CB Cotton reports, building trust is key to fixing the problem.
A community is more than its homes and buildings. It's the people inside those spaces, those we love and those we've lost.
My husband's grandfather. This one was for my mother-in-law. And then this was my husband's uncle.
3 family members of Colorado Senator Julie Gonzalez were laid to rest last week.
They all lived together and all got sick from and died from COVID-19.
And Gonzalez knows she's not alone.
My family story is not unique. It's been borne out in the data that Latinos and Blacks and other communities of color are getting sick and dying from COVID-19 at disproportionate rates.
And now, more data shows disproportionate vaccine rates.
We're just seeing for the first time some really concerning numbers where 1 in 16 white Coloradans has been able to access the vaccine thus far in the categories that have been opened up, whereas only 1 in 50 Latino Coloradans and then 1 in 35 Black Coloradans has been able to receive the vaccine, right?
A trend that the Colorado Vaccine Equity Task Force aims to improve. Senator Gonzalez is a member of the task force too.
Some of the barriers that we know exist are things like whether or not you have ability to access the internet, whether or not you're able to speak English or not and navigate all of this technical medical jargon, right? Whether or not you have access to reliable transportation.
Gonzalez says those barriers highlight why vaccine clinics and information must be placed in accessible areas for Colorado's Black and Latino communities.
The Black and Latino caucuses are going to be meeting with the governor's office this week, and we all understand the importance of advancing equity, but we want to see action.
Public health experts say trust is a barrier too.
So our community is always going to question, is this for us? Is this something against us, or is this really for us? Are we going to be guinea pigs? Are they going to be experimenting on us once again?
Experiments like the Tuskegee syphilis study have created long-standing mistrust, says Dr. Terry Richardson of the Colorado Black Health Coalition. She shared photos of her receiving the vaccine online to reassure community members.
That's the reason I did it. I wanted people to see that someone who I believe I'm trusted in the community.
Because community is more than homes and buildings. It's about people.
We need to see people that look like us.
The governor's office tells Denver7 they'll continue to advocate and plan for vaccine clinics in historically Black and brown communities. CB Cotton, Denver7.
And getting vaccinated is one way to develop immunity to the virus. And there is growing evidence that if you catch the virus and you fight it off, you could develop long-lasting immunity as well. New research in the journal Nature looked at how parts of the virus can hang around in the body for months, and that encourages your immune system to keep churning out antibodies, which then attack the virus. And that indicates your body would be primed to fight off the virus if you happen to be infected again.
After slogging through weeks of remote learning, Denver's middle and high school students will start the process of getting back into the classroom tomorrow. Schools are going to work at their own paces. The district says smaller schools may be able to accommodate in-person learning 5 days a week. Some of the bigger schools may be stuck with a hybrid schedule for a while. And certainly welcome news for a lot of people. In fact, parents organized multiple protests urging the district to get kids back into the classroom.
All right, let's take a live look at our nation's capital. Preparations are in full swing for Joe Biden's inauguration. More than 200 Colorado National Guard members are deployed in our nation's capital to help with security. And come Wednesday, up to 25,000 National Guard troops and other armed security forces will be there on the ground. After the January 6th attack on the Capitol, D.C. is in a virtual lockdown. And President-elect Joe Biden is encouraging supporters to watch the event from home because of the pandemic. All right, so what about protesters who want to make their voices heard? They will be limited to one of 2 First Amendment zones. Both spots are more than 3/4 of a mile from the inaugural stage, and protesters will be behind plastic barriers.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early
pretty good. She should go pro. A little preview of what we're going to expect to hear Wednesday when Lady Gaga performs the national anthem at the inauguration. J-Lo, Demi Lovato, Bon Jovi, Justin Timberlake also performing in the primetime special hosted by Tom Hanks. And country music superstar Garth Brooks confirmed he also will perform. He says this is not about politics. This is about unity. Today, he quoted Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He said, "We can't start living until we rise above the narrows of our own individualistic concerns." And stick with Denver7 for complete coverage on Inauguration Day. ABC News coverage starts 5 a.m. on Wednesday. And to stay up to date with local news, weather, and sports, switch over to our local sister station, Local 3, or search Denver7 on your Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, or Android TV.
Tonight, a Woodland Park man is in the Teller County Jail facing charges connected to the riot at the Capitol nearly 2 weeks ago. Deputies say Robert Gieswine turned himself in today, and he's accused of assaulting and intimidating officers and being part of the radical militia group, the 3 Percenters. He will be handed over to federal investigators.
Well, using the inspiration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to give back. More than 1,600 meals were handed out at the MLK statue in Aurora today to honor Dr. King. The meal giveaway was organized by the Brother Jeff Cultural Center.
You know, the pandemic prevented thousands from gathering in Denver for the annual parade, but Dr. King's message of hope still rings true.
Our country has been through a lot. In this last 2 weeks, the violence, the insurrection at our nation's capital, it has been a difficult time. It is important for every single one of us to stick with love.
That's Colorado Congressman Joe Neguse, and he joined Governor Polis and local faith leaders for this virtual event. And during it, Governor Polis was passed a torch symbolizing unity of our state in peace and brotherhood.
A family shaken to its core. 5 children left without parents, killed while trying to buy a car.
The support is just, it's incredible. It's heartwarming. I don't think we could have done it without the community.
How you, our incredible Denver7 Gives viewers, are supporting this family through the toughest of times.
We'll miss most of this storm, but there should be some minor accumulations overnight.